Hey guys, I'm back and today I'm going to be ranking my eyeshadow palettes. I have a helper, so he'll probably chill out in a minute or two. And if you are new here, my name is Jasmine. I have been going through in the month of November for my weekend bonus videos. I have been ranking different areas of my collection. This was by far the hardest, frankly, from volume. I have the most eyeshadow palettes. Things aren't necessarily in an exact order. I have grouped things into different kinds of categories and then ranked the categories. So I have my top 5. The next down, I've got some other fun ones, practical ones that are new and I didn't know where else to put them, and then ones that I don't really use very much. So those are the categories. We're going to work our way down and then hit the top 5 at the end. And that's really my whole plan for the day. So if you enjoy makeup content, if you enjoy eyeshadow and project painting and get ready with me's and all of those fun things, please stick around. And without further ado, let's hop straight into the content today. So my lowest, when I was going through everything, my ones where I was like, I don't really know where to put these. I rarely reach for them. You know, I've definitely contemplated getting rid of them plenty of times, are all of these little itty bitties quads. They're mostly things that were free with a gift with purchase, or they came with an Ipsy bag or something like that. So we have this LCB eyeshadow trio in Rave and Roll. We have my 2 Shayna B Miami duos in Vino and Bay Harbor and B Brazen. I have this Cab Cosmetics Sugar Plum Fairy quad, this green quad that just says eyeshadow palette from Ulta Beauty, and then these 2 quintets from Lancome. One is in With Love Cyan and the other one is in Taupe Craze. All of these are fine. I think it has more to do with the size. When I get something like this, I think, oh, it'll be great for travel. But in reality, for travel, I tend to like something that's a little bigger because I use the mirror. And so these are fine, but when I actually am traveling, I tend to use other things. And then the other thing that I just don't really reach for naturally as much anymore, and I didn't know where else to put it, but I largely keep it for nostalgia reasons, is this holiday palette from Tarte. This is the makeup that I bought after I lost my entire makeup collection. And I used it a ton when I first got it, but I think compared to the regular Tarte formula, and just other eyeshadows that I've come to know and love, it doesn't hold up the way that it did when it was literally the only thing in my collection, and it's just very big and bulky. I have thought about panning this. Maybe we'll include it in my What Should I Pan in 2025 video. That should be coming up next week, but there's just something about the shape, also all of these little triangular parts that come apart, and it just ends up not getting used a lot in my collection. I do think the shades are really pretty. I do enjoy reaching for it occasionally, and it's also nostalgic, so that's largely why I still have it here. Then we have palettes that are newer to my collection, or just ones that have a very specific color story that I don't really reach for a ton, but I still like and I still have grabbed on occasion. The 3 new ones are this Laura Geller Blend Away Rosy and Rustic Multi-Finish Eyeshadows. I genuinely got this not very long ago, so I just need time with it to really dig in there. I think I've only used it twice. My Morphe and Madison Beer Channel Surfing palette. This I know I've only used twice, and I thought it was really pretty. I just haven't grown fondness for it yet because I just have not had it long enough. And this MAC Connect in Color eyeshadow palette in the shade Embedded in Burgundy. Another really pretty color story, but I got this 3 weeks ago as a gift, and so I have not really had enough time to dig in. And these other 2 are ones that I like, but I don't know, I'm just not drawn to them. I kind of have to like have a reason to reach for them, like a pan those eyeshadows or something like that, in order to think of them. And that has been this Laura Mercier Eye Art Artist palette. I think it's just a very specific color story. And then this MAC Dusty Rose ×9 palette. I think that this was just one where like it's not very cohesive palette. If I do reach for it, I think I'd need to grab something else in addition. And like, if you cover these two shades, they're kind of all just gray. I am trying to somewhat rapid fire go through these because I have a feeling the ones that I love more, I'll have more to say about. And there's no point in me spending 5 minutes on every palette when I have 34 palettes in front of me. Then we've moved on to palettes that are just very practical. I really enjoy the look that I get when I use them, but they don't necessarily like excite me. They're not thrilling, but they are a good staple. We have two that I've panned, this Smashbox Cover Shot Pro Matte palette, and this Tartist Pro To Go palette. They are looking well loved, and they are well loved, but if I had to pick like one palette to use for the rest of my life, it would not be, I need something. I need a little spice, you know. This is a great workhorse, and I keep this one like with my everyday makeup regardless of what other eyeshadows I'm painting, because when I need a matte brown or just a crease color, this comes in really handy. I love traveling with this one, but they just aren't, they're not like top 5, I wouldn't say. Some ones from MAC, this MAC Amber ×9 palette. I've been using the mostly this gray, I think it's called Cozy. Yeah, Cozy Gray. I've been using in my brows, and it works really well. That's how I hit pan on it originally, and I pan those eyeshadows. And then I have hit pan in many a shade in this one. Another great one to just like reach for when I'm in a rush or I don't know what to do. These two Patrick Star MAC collaboration palettes, we have Glam AF and Goal Getter. They're both just really pretty and easy to reach for. 3 mattes, 1 shimmer. You can, there's not a ton of looks that you can create from a quad like this, but because the shadows are so blendable and easily buildable, you can create like, I could easily create like 5 different looks that are unique from one another with this palette, and be happy with it. And then another one that has seen the inside of a lot of travel makeup bags is this Lorac Malibu Free Spirit palette. Look at that. We've got bronzer, blush, eyeshadow, highlight, and these are just really easy to use and great formulas. All of these I would definitely recommend to someone who is wanting some makeup, they want something easy to use every day, and they don't play with makeup the way that I do. They just want work makeup every day, a little something, maybe to do a smoky eye every once in a while. Then we've moved into palettes that I just think are really fun to play with, but I don't know, they're just things that like, for whatever reason, I don't know if I would ever pan them, but I love having them in my collection and reaching for them every once in a while. The first two are these Dior Backstage eyeshadow palettes. This is in the shade Smoky Essentials, and this is Warm Neutrals. I like both of these. I think they're really fun. They're really fancy. Like, sometimes it's fun to just reach for these and feel like so luxurious, and they blend really well. They're kind of unique color stories in my collection. Like, these are quite orange, for the things like orangey browns I don't have a ton of, and then I have a lot of mauves, but these like smoky colors, these taupey grays, are also kind of unique, so fun to reach for. More from MAC, I have the Solar Glow ×9 palette, and then these Pearl Fusion Shadows. This is in Plum Luxe, and these formulas are very glittery and sparkly. It's kind of that like topper formula that a lot of brands have come out with lately. This is a very similar thing. You can take a little bit with your finger and dab it over whatever you've got going on, and this will look nice. I think that this shade in the top, Copper Aura, is like a really good space cowboy dupe. And just like you can add just a little bit of shine and it looks instantly like glossier than the other side. Now I have to even it out. Oh my god, I was already wearing a lot of eyeshadow and now I'm adding more on top of it. But yeah, there's a lot of those in here, and like this is not a full look palette for me by any means. Like I'd have a hard time using just this, but they're still really fun to play with. And then another one where I don't love the matte to shimmer ratio that we have in here. So again, would be hard to travel with or something like that. But this Charlotte Tilbury Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize palette, these shimmers are just so pretty. The color story is really pretty. I especially love, I think it's this one. Like it looks a lot darker and then it catches the light in a very interesting way. And I think this was the other one that I really loved putting on my eyes. Oh, I'm making a mess. Yeah, just one swipe, beautiful color, like beautifully formulated eyeshadows, but the mattes are like fine, not anything special. Then that's honestly, those two categories I would say are like my mid ones, like the ones that I reach for. If I'm painting something, I reach for it every day. If I'm not, I tend to reach for it much less frequently. Now we're moving into things that I really like, and if I didn't have it anymore, I would honestly probably want to buy it again. The first is this Dior Backstage Eye Palette in the shade Rosewood Neutrals. This one I have used a ton, and it barely looks it. These shadows are pretty pigmented, but like firmly pressed. So I have gotten a ton of great use out of this, and I find it just, the color story, I think is super easy to use. Mostly these like purpley pinky tones, but you've got some like browns and golds when you want to switch things up. And it comes with a built-in primer. Not bad at all. Another one that I have reached for a lot in the past like year or so is this Natasha Denona Mini Star palette. This is an example of a little palette that I still reach for because it has a mixture of like really beautiful, interesting shades and neutrals. It's not one or the other. It manages to be interesting and very useful for me. This shade, what is it called? Cosmo, is so pretty. It's like that blue brown kind of shifty thing, and this green one, which is Orion, is also just really beautiful on the lids. So this is one where I would be really sad if I didn't have it anymore. One that I wasn't expecting to love so much is this Buxom Boss Babe Dolly palette, and the shades in here kind of don't look anything too crazy special, but they're all really beautiful and play nicely. They have some interesting shifts. Like this is kind of a purple that shifts like more silver, that has a silver reflect. This is like a peachy pinky gold situation. This is another beautiful topper shade. And I just, when I first got it, I was reaching for it like every single day. And then I had the shade Last Call, which is right there in my Pan Those Eyeshadows. And I thought, okay, you know, I hit pan on something, and I've had this palette for, I think like a year. I think I got it last fall, like fall 2023, and it already has a pan in it. So I made the conscious effort to set it aside so I could work on other things, and I would gladly pan another shade of it in a heartbeat. One that was a very strong contender for my Pan That palette for this year was this Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. And the main reason why I didn't pick it is because of the shimmers to matte ratio. I think the metallics in this palette are so stunning. Like every single one of them blends like a like blends, is super pigmented, looks beautiful, but realistically there's like 2 easy crease shades, and then these 2 I kind of struggle reaching for. So I would be doing basically the same thing in the crease and then pick a shimmer every single day. And so I find this one to be really fun to reach for when I'm playing with makeup, when I want to really dip my fingers in all of those beautiful metallics, but I don't necessarily know if this would be like an every single day palette for me. And then this Huda Beauty new nude palette is so beautiful. I got this for Christmas couple years ago. I'm not going to say how many because I don't want to expose myself. But this is a very easy to work with palette. The primer in here I did not really enjoy very much. I kind of wish that it was literally anything else. I've noticed, you know, through my own, what's it called? Data collection, that whenever I wear this shade, I get a compliment, like instantly. I think it's bronzy, but it has almost like a pinkiness to it that I think really works well with my eyes and my complexion. The pressed glitters in here are fun to play with, but not something I reach for every time. But these 4 shimmer shades are stunning, and the mattes all work really well and blend together really well. This is a shimmer to matte ratio that I can definitely get behind, and it's a very specific color story, but it is one that it takes me a while to get sick of it. Like, I can use it every single day for like 4 months and be good to go. Okay, we've reached a really fun point, and that is my top 5. Whilst these are in no particular order, it was very hard to pick like a number 1. I think I have picked my number 1, but these all hold a very special place in my heart. The first one is a long time favorite, and that is my Tarte Tartlet in Bloom palette. I remember when I was in high school, I wanted this palette so badly. I don't even know why. I think I just was watching way too much YouTube, and Tarte was sponsoring a bunch of trips at that time, so everyone was promoting their stuff, and I'm so glad I got it because I had one of these, lost my whole makeup collection, ordered another one, and then like my palette looked like this before I lost it, and then now it looks like this again. This is a strong contender for next year's Pan That palette. Every time I reach for these, I remember why this is a staple in my collection. It is maybe a little basic, maybe a little neutral and safe, but so easy to use. And there's a reason why I have hit pan in over half of the shades. And frankly, I would never use up any of these 3 shades. I'd really just be trying to use up this part of the palette, and I could gladly use this every single day for 2 years, 3 years, and just maybe occasionally grab a glitter from somewhere else and just be happy, be content. Another easy everyday palette is this year's Pan That palette. Honestly, before panning it this year, it probably would have ranked lower because I just wasn't super familiar with this palette, and through using it a ton, I just realized how stunning this color story is. If you were waiting for my Pan That palette update, spoiler alert, I don't know, cover your eyes or something, but I just truly cannot get enough of this palette. Even though I've hit pan on on a bunch of these shades, I'm still reaching for them because it's just so easy to use, and I just really love it. And my goal was to hit pan, so realistically I could be done and be like reaching for a bunch of other things right now, and I still have this in my everyday makeup because I want to savor this time while it lasts of me adoring this palette every day before I start painting something else. Then we have a palette that was supposed to be my Pan That palette, and that is the Huda Beauty Rose Gold Remastered palette. This is one that it's getting old, but I was worried it was giving me some sort of like eye skin reaction, so I pulled it out of that project, and I've dabbled with it here and there over the year. since I pulled it out as my Pan That palette, I haven't had any eye issues, so I didn't get rid of it, but I also am hesitant to like go back to using it every single day. Maybe it's a frequency doses the poison kind of situation. I don't know. It's truly just like such a beautiful color story. All of these shimmers are so full of dimension. This shade Rose Gold is one of my favorite eyeshadows in my whole collection. It's this like orange that shifts to pink, like pink, and then now it's like kind of orange. Stunning. And then I also really love Trust Fund, which is another like orangey shade, and I'm not really typically an orange eyeshadow person. I tend to be more pinks, mauves, golds, browns, but like, and then some neutrals and taupes. But this has really gotten me out of my comfort zone. I've reached for the shade Doll a bunch, and I was using Suede a bunch as well for a while there, and it's got a pretty hefty dip. So this is gonna stay top 5 until I can without a doubt say that it is expired and in need of being let go. Then one that I have, again, before this past like year, maybe year and a half, I probably would not have reached for it or called this one of my top 5, but this NARS Ignited palette is full of such beautiful eyeshadows. I mean, this is like, if you want a sparkly topper shade, this is your best friend. It is truly like the most glimmery, sequiny shades in my whole collection. The color story is a beautiful mix of like warms and purples and pinks. And the mattes I frankly don't reach for very much, but when I did go on a long weekend with this palette because I knew I was going to be like going out and doing some things, and I wanted this half of the palette, so I thought, why not? I'll just bring it, and worst comes to worst, I just wear one of these all over my lid every day. And I did end up reaching for this side of the palette and still really liked it. So I'm really sad this was a limited edition thing, so sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk about it as much and sing its praises because you can't get it anymore. But also, if NARS came out with something that had these formulas again, I run, don't walk. So that's why I'm still mentioning it, in case maybe in 2025 they'll come out with a spring collection that is similar in texture but slightly different color story. Because let's be honest, NARS tends to come out with the same things over and over again anyways. And then the palette that I think is my favorite, would have the hardest time parting with it. You cannot pry this from my cold dead hands. When it does expire, I honestly will probably keep it for sentimental reasons, is my Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette. This is, first of all, such a beautiful color story. It has kind of what I was talking about with the Natasha Denona Mini Star palette. It's got the everyday neutrals. It's also got beautiful shades and textures that are for like playtime. I did a palette bingo with this palette yesterday, and that should be coming up next week, I believe. And I used a bunch of these sequin shades, and it turned out so beautiful. And I rarely reach for them because I wasn't sure how to use them when I first got this palette, but it is just so stunning. I have hit pan in only one shade, and I think this is one that I really want to work on in 2025, even if it's not my Pan That palette, maybe just leaving it with my everyday makeup and reaching for the glitters, reaching for the sequin shades more, and getting more value out of this palette, because I believe it was Dub's Beauty Diary. She was saying that her palette expired and like the shades went off and got weird. So I need to get using this because I ordered this the day it dropped. I still am, but I was at the time a huge Tati Westbrook fan. She's like an OG favorite, and so this is 5 years old. So I definitely need to play with this more, but having it in my Pan Those Eyeshadows has really just reminded me that this palette is unmatched in my collection. So that is everything that I have for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was fun. It definitely, the process made me realize that I do not need more quads. I don't need dinky little things that I never actually travel with. And I could probably maybe actually travel with one and see how I like it, since I have so many of them. And for the most part, like, this was harder than I maybe originally anticipated when I first got the idea to do this series, but it was also good to make me realize what I use every day is usually my Pan That palette, but I can definitely reach for things more often than once in a blue moon. So that is everything that I have for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having an incredible, awesome day wherever you are, and that I get to see you in a future video. Thanks, guys.